everyone, it's Sue. Welcome back. I hope you're all doing really well. So I've got a huge project that's probably going to take me approximately 12 months to complete, and I thought I'd bring you guys along. Well, I don't know, we'll see. I'll do some videos while I'm working in these journals. So I want to make a journal each for my 3 children. So I've got 2 boys and a girl, and I wanted to have this done last year, but it didn't eventuate. So my original thought was I purchased 3 books around the same size from an op shop, which are these 3. But I've changed my mind. I did pull one apart, and then I was going to make a wider spine, because I'm basically going to, I guess, scrapbook inside. I've got photos that I want to put in there, and memories, just little things that they did as little kids that made me laugh, and just little topics of interest, and you know, how much maybe bread was a loaf when they were born, and you know, things like that. Yeah, just maybe bits of advice, words of wisdom from their mother. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. So I wanted the book to be quite large, so that if I had photos, I could still do a bit of decoration and journaling. So it's going to be like a junk journal, but it will just have photos. And then I want to have it done by Christmas this year, 2024, so that I can give it to them. They don't know this is happening. They don't watch my videos, so they're not going to see it. So I've just had a bit of a play around, and this is a little bit bigger than the books as in height, and a little bit wider. So this is 12 inches by 9 inches, and then I'm going to do a 3-inch spine. So I've basically got no wastage from a 12-inch sheet of bookboard. This is about 800 GSM. So I think that that's going to be strong enough for the front and back cover. Once I get fabric on there, and then I'll use card weight inside cover. What do you call them? I forget what you call them. The pages that cover the front, the inside of the covers. Anyway, my brain's in thinking mode, and I'm not in talking mode. So this was what I got from one sheet of that 12-inch board. So this would be a front cover, that would be a spine, and then this would be the back cover. Now I don't know whether that's all in screen because it is quite big, but you get the idea. But then I wanted to make like a chock, or whatever you call them, to put in between when I actually put the spine down and the next cover down. So what I thought, I'm going to glue these 2 together, because I think that it needs to be about that distance, just so that when the covers are open and closed, they're not going to get stuck on the spine, if that makes sense. Now look, full disclosure, I haven't made this type of journal for probably 3 years, so we're going to do it together. So if anyone hasn't done this type of journal before, I'm basically going back to the beginning as well. So it's going to be a learning process. So I hope you'll join me, and I hope that, you know, if you've got any pointers, let me know, because I normally do the journals that I enjoy doing. The journals that I really enjoy doing are these fabric covered journals. Now look at the difference in size of that. I love this size, but I really just want this as a really lovely keepsake, and then maybe down the track, with more photos and hopefully grandkids one day, I'll continue this size, and so we'll just have different volumes of this book. That's my thought process. Now it took a lot of years for me to work out that this is the style that I love to do. I really love making this style, and I guess we all find a way that we like to make journals, and we stick with it. So this is just something that I just find really easy. I love the size, I love the feel of it. and I love the closure, all that type of thing. So this is generally what I make. So I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something a little bit different to what I normally do. So as I said, I thought I'd bring you along with me. There might be some people that haven't done this type of journal before, so we'll be doing it together, and I'll see how good my memory is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shoot off, and I'm going to cut, and I'm just using my messy mat here, and I'm just lining it up with the grid. So if you've got a mat, that's probably the best. So I've got it on 5 inches on this end, so I want to make this 9 inches, so I need to cut it at 14 inches, if that makes sense. And then that leaves me with a 3-inch spine, which is what I wanted in the first place. So I'm just going to use a Stanley knife. Now I do struggle, to be honest, with using a metal ruler and a Stanley knife, but it is pretty straight, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to do that on all of these pieces here that I've got, so that I can do 3 journals. So I'm basically going to be doing a bit of a production line. Each journal is going to be different, because I'm going to try and pick fabric that either is in a quilt that I've already made my kids, or colors that they like. So for now, I'm going to shoot off and cut down 3 front covers, 3 back covers, and then 6 spines, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the spine. I'm probably getting ahead of myself now. I'm going to have the spine, which will be covered. Wow, that looks really crooked already. Is that crooked, or is that my eye? I think it might be my eye. What was I going to say? I'm going to have, so this will be covered with fabric, and then the spine, I'm going to do a hidden spine. So I'm going to sew my signatures into another piece of bookboard, and then that is going to go, that will then be glued with wings that go here, and then are covered by end papers. That's what they're called, by end papers. And then so there's no string or anything showing through. Okay, right, first step, if you want to create along with me, grab some bookboard, or you can use cereal boxes, just double them up, and you don't have to make this size. This is just the size that I want to make. So grab your supplies, and let's see if we can do this without too much fuss. I'm going to go and cut all these covers and spines, and I'll also glue my, I don't know what you call them. I'm going to glue my chalk, so that I know that that's sitting in there, and it gives me about probably 1/4 of an inch, a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch either side of the spine. I'll be back. Okay, so I have made my chalk. I don't know the actual name for it, and I've just glued 2 pieces together, and I've made sure that one edge is perfectly straight on a flat surface, so it's straight, and I've just put some arrows so that I know that when I'm using it, that's the side that I put down. Okay, and I measured it, and that makes it about ends up being approximately 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just burnishing that a little bit more, just to make sure that the glue has glued it together, and I'm just using the Art Glitter glue. Okay, so I'm just going to put that aside. Now, I'm not going to bore you and do all 3 at the same time. So what I've done is I've cut 2 covers, front cover, back cover, and 2 spines. So remember, I said 1 spine's going to be covered with the covers with fabric. Okay, and this one is what I'm going to use to sew the signatures into, and then that will all get stuck onto there. Okay, I hope that all is beginning to make sense. So I've done that for 3 journals. I think what I'm going to do first of all is glue all the covers together and make sure that they all fold nicely. Now you need some sort of tape. Now this is sort of like a bookbinder's tape. It's not that sticky, it's just something that I picked up from Daiso quite a while ago, so it's not going to be, I'm just wondering whether that's even going to work well, because what I was thinking is just gluing it, sticking it down, because whatever fabric I use, you won't see this anyway. So I'm just going to burnish that, and I'm just going to cut that really roughly. It's sort of like a cloth tape, really. So what I'm thinking is just to put the cover together, and then I need my chalk. So this is what I'm meaning when I say I want to use my chalk. So I'm putting the arrows down and I'm lining it up square up against that cover, and then I'm going to bring in my spine, line it up well with the bottom, and it should be square with the top, but I'm putting it up against that chalk and just pressing down on that tape. Okay, taking that away. So see, does that make sense now? It's leaving me an edge there so that when the covers open and close, they don't get caught on the spine. Okay, so, and what I can do is I can just wrap this around. So I'm just gonna, I think with a good burnish, this will stick well enough. So that's going to give the joins there a little bit of extra as well. I could even bring the tape all the way down. So see how that folds really nicely? So I'm going to bring the tape all the way down as well. And just burnish it all down really well. Now I'm not sure whether this is a necessary step. My biggest problem is going to be making sure that the fabric that I get with the boys, I know that theirs will, you won't be able to see this through the fabric, but I'll have to get, for Katie's journal, I'll have to make sure I've got something that doesn't show this printing through. I can always paint gesso over it. I would prefer to not do that if I can get away with that. So that's one side. Okay, now I'm going to add this other cover to the spine. So I'm just going to that, and then we're going to use the chalk again, put that up against, right up against there, square, and then line this up, this cover up as well. Take that out, and then we've still got the same as before, 1/4 of an inch. Sorry, 1/8 of an inch gap. And then I'm just going to bring this over. And burnish this as well. And I'm just going down that 1/8 of an inch gap there as well, just to accentuate where that gutter is. And then the same on this side. And that's basically our journal. So it's going to be a whopper, but I didn't want to have to make, you know, like half a dozen journals just to put in. I'm just going to keep doing, as I said earlier, do more journals as the need arises, but this will give them, you know, a pretty good start. And I thought I might even add, you know, some favorite recipes, or I just want it to be something that they can keep and enjoy and look through in future. And it's not as imposing as the 12-inch albums, so you could just put this on a bookshelf and it's like a textbook. So that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so what I'll then do is I'll get fabric and cover this whole piece. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to just put an arrow on this spine here, and that's going to be the top. Okay, and then we'll just make sure we'll do the same on here, top. Okay, because what we're going to do is we'll make a template and we're going to sew in. I don't know, I'll have to measure it and work out how many signatures I can get in here, but just so that when I sew the signatures in, I'm not sewing them in like this top here, whereas that's actually the top. You know, it'll all make sense when we get to that stage. All right, I'm going to go off and put together the other 2 covers and then I'll be back. All right, I've done the 3 journal covers, the bases of them. So how are you going? Are you crafting along with me? So what I'm going to do now, as I said, I'll go and get some fabric. I'll get some fabric to do at least one. So we're going to need, I think it's 21, yeah, it's just over 21 inches, my journal cover. And as I said, I don't even know whether it's in screen. Yes, it is. So I need a little bit more than 1/2 meter wide and 30 centimeters. So I need about 50, probably 55 centimeter wide piece of fabric and about a 35. So 55 by 35. So I'll head off and I'll try and find that and then I'll be back. Okay, so I ended up getting the fabric for the 3 journals, and it's really creased. So I've just heating up my little travel iron here, and I'm just going, excuse me, I'm just going to give them a little bit of a press to get out any obvious creases. When we're putting the glue on and burnishing the fabric to the covers, you won't see most creases anyway, but this is just a step that I like to do, because to go to all that trouble with doing the covers and trying to make a really lovely book, I don't want creases to spoil it. That's just me. If you're happy with a few creases, you don't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to iron this. This is a Tim Holtz fabric. So I've decided with the boys I'm going to do both very similar colors but not the same fabric, and Katie loves pink, so I've got a Kathy Holden fabric there that I'm going to use for Katie's. So I'll just do this. All right, I've pressed those and I'm quite happy with them. There's still a few little creases, but nothing to be really concerned about. Now this is a fabric, this is the Kathy Holden fabric that I'm going to use for Katie's journal. Now, what we need to do, because this isn't really directional, it doesn't matter, but what we would need to do is make sure that if it's a directional fabric, this is the top of my journal, I would have to make sure that the fabric was going from top to bottom the same as the cover. All right, so as I said, we don't need to worry about that, so I'm just going to flip it over. A good rule of thumb is, so you can see there's still some creases, but they're not going to cause any issues. A good rule of thumb is to just go over and get rid of any loose threads that you may have, because when you add the glue, those threads will actually, they will show through. Okay, so this is about, I've probably trying to get it all in frame for you. Let me have a look. Okay, it's the best I can do. Now, I'm doing this all by memory. I haven't watched any other videos because I wanted to prove to myself that I could remember how to do it. Now, I don't, I think it's all coming back to me. But if I do something wrong, I will be sure to let you know. So you need to cut, I like to leave a decent amount of fabric. So we're going to fold that over to the other side. To the inside of your book. Okay, so I like to leave about 1 inch all the way around. What we're going to do first though is we're going to tip this over. So this is the front of your journal, and what we're going to do is we're going to add glue. Now, you can add glue to the whole thing and then tip it over and burnish it onto your fabric. I'm not going to do that because it's really, really hot here and I've got the fan going. So if I did all that, it would be dry by the time I tipped it over. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the front cover, stick it on. Because this folds, that allows me to then do the spine and then the other cover. Hope that makes sense. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start, and I think you can use, so long as it's a white glue, a wet glue, could you use a glue stick? You probably could if you have a really good glue stick. I think I'm going to use this Tiger Grip. It's a Helmar glue. It's good for paper, card, wood, plastics, metal, cork, fabrics, carpets, leather, canvas, and many other items. Okay, so we're going to use this, and I've got a tiny little spatula thing. And we want fairly decent coverage. So I'm just going to do this, and we're going to spread it. If you've got a paintbrush, you could probably use a paintbrush fairly squarely in that piece of fabric. Okay, and I'm going to really press that down. Now I want to tip it over to the front so that I can see that there's no creases, which there isn't, so that's nice. And then just burnish the fabric again. All right, so as I said, we can fold this cover back, and now we can add glue to here, which will be our next step, to add it to the spine. Once again, I've got way too much glue. I'm going to have to bring that over onto the other cover. I'm very heavy-handed with my glue, so you just got to try and not be like me. What do they say? Do what I say, not what I do. Something like that. Okay. Same thing, we're going to put that onto the fabric, press it down, turn it over, and burnish it really well. Now we also want to push down into that little gutter there for where the spine, either side of the spine. So I kept a little bit of glue in there, but not a lot. Okay. So you can see there that that's all glued nicely. Now some of this is going to be glued. I'm just going to peel it back to the edge, and then I'm going to add the glue to this side, and then that will be, the fabric will be glued on there. Okay. So that's all really nice. So you can see what I mean when I said make sure there's no threads on the underneath, because that would actually show through and you'd have a lump in your cover. So that's all nice and smooth now. And that's what it looks like on the other side. Now this is a part that I always struggle with, are the corners. And I'm not sure which is best to do first, whether to do the top first or do these sides first. But what you need to do is you need to trim across each corner. Now you don't want to go right to that edge, and you watch me do that. Now I've said not to do that. So what you want to do is come in, might need bigger ones, come in towards your corner and then go out like that. Now I would do this normally standing up, but because I filmed sitting down, that's why I'm finding it a little bit more difficult. But you need to do that on all four corners. Okay, so head in towards the point, but you probably want to leave a good 1/8 of an inch of fabric. You see what I mean here? So this is how it's looking. Just notice there is a little bit of a lumpy bumpy there. That might be glue, but what I might even do is just run the iron over. It's just warm. So I'm just going to grab it, and I don't know whether this is a no-no. It's only warm. It's because it's cooling down, and I think that's actually helping. It's actually spreading the glue. That's a good idea. That's worked really well actually. So it's spreading the glue. It's only that, oh no, there's a bit up there too. I can just feel a little bit of glue that has dried before I've actually stuck the cover down. Okay, all right. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera. So same thing, what we want to do is we want to really pull this nice and taut. We want to glue this down, okay? We're going to glue this down, and we want to get glue on this edge here too, so that there's no bubbling or anything. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the bottom here. So all this extra fabric is going to be covered by the spine and the end papers, okay? So you can see that that's basically what it's going to look like. We're going to fold this in though, obviously. So we're going to just add some glue. I'm just trying to keep the fan away from it if I can. And same thing. See, possibly even a watered down PVA would be better. She wouldn't get any of those swirly bits that I've got there. And we want to add a little bit of glue really close to the edge so it can go down the side a bit, so like that. Okay. We're going to pull this up and press it down, push it down, really push it down, pull it up and push it down. It's the same thing. I'm just going to burnish the edge so that that all grabs. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to tip it up and I'm going to do this edge here as well. So we're just going to go into those gutters there again. Okay, so that's how it's looking at the moment. And I'll probably end up putting a book plate or something on the front of this one. Okay, now we get to the corners. Now this is the part that really stresses me out. I never seem to be able to get perfect corners, although it's not about perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as you can see, what I've done here is I've really pushed down, really burnished that, really burnished a crease in that fabric. Okay, then I've folded that in, and then we're going to glue that up like that. So, and add plenty of glue. And it's not a perfect corner. I don't know whether you can see that, but you can always put metal corners as well if you wanted to cover that up. So it's okay, and I think, you know, really that's not too bad for a handmade book cover. So I'm going to do both ends and get the corners all glued down. Now here you can see I've actually folded under a small amount of fabric just because I didn't want any raw edges, but your end papers are going to pretty much go right to the edge there, so you're not going to see any of that. But I will actually add some extra glue now and glue this extra piece down. Now I'm going to be using cardstock. If you use just a paperweight end paper, you probably will see the what am I trying to say? The edges of this fabric through it. For that matter, you may even see some of it, even with the card that I'm going to use. But once again, it's not about perfection. It's about, I want to make a memory journal for my kids so that, you know, one day when I'm gone, which hopefully is a long, long way away, they have all these little tidbits of information. So, you know what? I'm going to say that that's pretty damn perfect. I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to do the other end. So I'm just going to push all that up. I've got Benny at my chair wanting to get up and say hello. So just hang on a minute, mate. At a crucial point here. So this one isn't as good, I don't think, as the other end. Particularly this corner. I'm not sure what I did there, but same thing. I'll probably end up putting some corners. Yeah, it's a little bit lumpy bumpy, but honestly, in the scheme of things, are you really going to notice it? I don't think so. So there we have one cover. I'll probably go and just add a little bit more glue along there. and that's what we look like. So I'm going to go and do the same for the boys, and I'm going to leave that today, leave you to stew on that and see if you want to create a journal along with me. And then when we come back, I'm going to put some signatures together and show you how I work out how many signatures I want to put in with this size spine. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully we can make a journal together, and I will see you in the next video where we choose our signatures and probably even end up sewing them into the spine. Take care, guys. Until next time, I hope you get a little bit of creative time in. See you soon. Bye-bye.